Audio Jungle.
Hi, welcome back to C++ in Detail, Exceptions. And in this video, we're gonna look at some examples of using Noexcept operator with template functions and Noexcept specifier. We will see how it may be useful there. So let's get started. And here I have two structs, point and player, and they have some members. And then I have function toString. I have two overloads for this function. One of them takes point and converts to string and returns that string representation of point, and another one takes player, converts to string and returns the string representation of player. And I would like to print, or just simply to convert these instances of these types to string, and I have this print all function, which is template function, variety template function, because I might have many more such types and functions to string which I want to convert to string and print. So I declare it, I make it templated, and I have parameter pack here, and what I am doing in this function is I am converting each of the arguments that I pass to print all to string and printing its string representation of each of the arguments, and I will do it for each of those arguments. And note that I am using here syntax of C++ 17, namely fold expression. This is fold expression. I am doing this operation cout and to string and then cout on each of the arguments. So I expanded my parameter pack, and each of that parameter I am calling to string. And also I would like to make this print all function, I would like to make it Noexcept non-throwing if converting to string of each of the arguments is Noexcept, if it is non-throwing. And thus here I am using this Noexcept operator on the expression toString on each of the arguments, and I'm also using here fold expression which means that I will call this Noexcept toString on each of the arguments, and I use this logical AND, and thus if converting to string for each of the arguments is Noexcept, I will have here true, and that true will go to this Noexcept specifier, and my function will be Noexcept. Otherwise it will be potentially thrown. And here I have two instances of such objects, of such types, player and point. I have instance of player and instance of point. And then I have if const export, and inside it I'm using another Noexcept operator, and to that Noexcept operator I pass the expression of calling print all with these two objects, with these two arguments. We can pass one, or in case we can pass more arguments to this function. It is templated, it's variety template, and here it will check at compile time if this expression is potentially thrown or not, if it is Noexcept, and if it is, I will actually print. I will call and run that function. So in this case, since toString, each of those overloads is potentially thrown, it doesn't have Noexcept specifier. Here we'll also have false, and print all will be potentially thrown. So let's compile and see that we don't see any prints. However, if we make toString Noexcept. Now toString on player and point is Noexcept. These overloads are Noexcept, they are non-throwing. Therefore here, when I call print all on those two objects, this Noexcept operator for each of the arguments will give me true, and as a result I will have true here that goes to this Noexcept specifier, and print all will be Noexcept. And here, therefore, I will also have true, because this expression becomes now Noexcept, and I will print. I will actually call that and evaluate that expression. I will execute it at runtime. So let's now see that in this case we will see the string representation of those two objects, and here it is. We printed those two objects. So that's how Noexcept operator may be useful. We may use it to declare our functions either Noexcept or as potentially throwing, depending on the arguments we pass, and it is especially useful when we have templated functions, when we may pass many different types, and we don't know beforehand if some operations on those types are Noexcept or not, and we therefore use this Noexcept operator on those operations, with those expressions, and the result we are passing to Noexcept specifier, and we make our functions either potentially throwing or non-throwing. So that's how it is useful. How this Noexcept operator may be used with Noexcept specifier, together with Noexcept specifier and templates. So that's all for this video. See you next time.